Wow. How you guys doing tonight? How's my sound?
Huh. You see,
Good.
okay.
It sounds fine. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Woo. How are all you lovely people tonight? Uh-oh, that good, huh?
Great.
Breathing.
I mean, I did get this delivered.
Oh.
Ah.
Ooh, and what do you think, my friend? That is is that your prize or is that the graveyard?
Oh, this is the graveyard.
Ah. And you got that one in a Neo, didn't you?
Yeah.
Woo! How you liking it?
I like it. I like it a lot. The wife goes, all right, you have 4 now. You're good.
That's enough for the whole family to beat each other up.
I mean, there's 5 of us, so technically I need 1 more.
Do you have the captain? You don't have the captain.
Yeah, yes. Frey is the only one we have. Actually, we just got a new Saber in, so the next one will be the Frey.
No, I know. That's not. I was asking Dampy if he got the captain. Hey, we started to start on time. Say Wong.
Yeah. Who was it that was saying he's gonna be always saying shit? We better get on.
Right? We already know.
You're welcome, Say Wong. You're welcome.
Yes. I mean, we can get Say Wong crap too for coming late to our show, especially last night. So
yeah. Also leaving and then coming back. What did I miss?
Well, I see.
I see
I see 803 as Say Wong's first time imprint on here. So, so what's going on with anybody else? Anybody else got anything going? What you got, Captain?
Well, I've been dealing with a pinched nerve for the last week.
Oh my gosh, Anthony!
I know, right? Kids don't get old because apparently you don't stretch on a regular basis. You're gonna pay for it. No, I did something last week. I woke up in just crippling pain Saturday.
Oh Jesus!
And I had to call out for Mother's Day weekend, which in the restaurant industry is like a cardinal sin. But I was like, I can't put on my socks. I can't work. Like, what's fucked up is that my boss literally responded. Was like, "Oh, it's like the busiest weekend of the year. Like, you're just gonna have to suffer through it." And I was like, or you could just find another fucking worker, cause bye.
Right,
so,
right.
It was one of those moments that fortunately my husband saw that and was like, oh hell no, I'm gonna correct this bitch. And straight up like, Anthony is in tears right now. He's in so much pain. There's no way he can go to work and just suffer through it. And then beyond that, like it just hasn't gotten much better. My fingers are still kind of numb.
Oh yeah.
So I have been to my chiropractor 3 times. I've been to a masseuse. I have a doctor's appointment scheduled to like get an x-ray because I'm like, what is going on? I think I've averaged about 2 hours of sleep for each of the last 5 days. So I almost didn't make it on tonight because I was about to fall asleep on the couch. And then I woke up. And I was like, well, shit, it's like my last Friday that I have available, so I better make it.
Oh.
Well, my mom's in town, and she's one of the best massage therapists in the country. So you should.
Oh, is she like nationally recognized as such?
I don't know if she's nationally recognized, but I do know that she has clients that come from all over to see her.
Okay, I mean, I will take anything at this point.
She goes from Utah, Northern California, and here. So.
Right. No, I actually had a very fun moment Tuesday night because one of my regulars is a retired chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, Anton, you don't look so hot. Let's take you out back real fast. Like straight up walked me out onto this like patio area that we have all of our tables at, laid me on a fire pit, and then fucking adjusted me in a way that I've never been touched by a man like that before.
Wow.
That's saying something. But it was beautiful. It was breathtaking. It didn't fix me, but it did feel amazing. So next time I see him, I'm like, so Dr. Dave, want to take me out back again? Because that could use another one of them sessions, sir.
Oh man,
there's my ice back and my groans and stretches. I will eventually mute myself if I get too like
There's nothing like a good chiropractor. I don't care. I don't care if people think that they're real doctors or not. You get a good chiropractic session that can be heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And trust, I love my chiropractor, but even he was like, you may have slipped a disc, which if that's the case, like it will get fixed, but it will take some time.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
What do you think you did?
No idea. My masseuse thinks that it's my pillows. I changed pillows too recently and that they're too big.
Oh, that could do it. Yeah, that could
And she's like,
definitely.
somebody who suffered from car accidents herself. She's like, I've gone through this battle before. Like if it's off by just an inch and you slip out of space, like it could just wreak havoc.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh,
We'll see.
Morgan,
Enough about me and falling apart.
Say Wong says, yeah, welcome to you're not 23 anymore.
Yeah, tell
Thank
me
you,
about it.
Wong.
I just play one on stage.
He also mentions that Fanime Con is right around the corner, which means no Powerhouse Comics. Sorry, Phil and James. So I'm guessing that means tomorrow because we will be at Powerhouse Comics tomorrow with Distance Nerding. Well, we won't be there with them, but we'll be there with them. we have our own separate things. Although I guess James has asked if I wanted to come up and help with possibly some of the interviews or things like that too. So we'll see how our booth is going, and then I may do that. But yes, Kyber Cave will be at Powerhouse this weekend, and next weekend we are going to be. There's a Benicia Star Wars festival that's supposed to be really cool. So we will be out in Benicia next weekend.
Powerhouse sounds like a gay club.
Yeah.
Or like one of those other adult clubs,
Next weekend I'll be in LA, so.
Oh.
Been to one. I'm just.
I have a fight. Okay, I have a tournament. I don't know.
Wow, Phil and James offered to buy Say Wong tacos, and he even turned them down. I'll just say I'm Say Wong. I'm here for the tacos.
Absolutely.
Tacos are cool.
Graveyard, what's going on with you, my friend?
Oh, just prepping, going on vacay here in a couple of weeks, so I'm excited.
Where you going?
Mammoth Cave.
Never heard of
Oregon?
Right?
No. Is that in Oregon?
Kentucky.
Where is that at?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay.
The world's largest
I think
great
you Mammoth Lake then.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, went there a couple of years ago. I've been going for my entire life because it's a bit of a drive, but not that far. So, so no, I'm excited. Just
Anthony and Aubrey, have you guys done any of the cave tours out here in California?
I've been to Mercer Caverns a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Aubrey?
I've been to the caverns and I've gone. Let's see, I've done one cave tour. I don't remember where it was at though. It's a long time ago. Maybe over here. I've seen the Black Diamond Mines. I've gone through a little bit of them. And I went actually up north. I was helping to film a documentary about flunking and mining for gold in a cave, and went about a mile deep into it. And that was really cool. And I've done spelunking in Mount Shasta's caves over there.
Wow.
I know I went to a sunset that was in Mexico at one point, but I forget how long ago.
So,
yeah, I know when I was younger as a Boy Scouts, there's several caverns that we used to here in California near the Nevada border. There's a few caverns because I remember one we had to actually go down by line, and you drop in through this hole on the surface. And when you first drop in, you're like 80 feet to the ground. So you just feel like a little spider dangling there in the midst of this huge cavern. And then everybody's got to come down one by one that way.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, and especially, when you're a Boy Scout, you're like a 10 or 11-year-old kid going down this line or whatever. It was pretty intense. I've seen way too many of those Mr. Ballin videos to do that shit nowadays.
Right? I fucking love Mr. Ballin. I'm not gonna lie.
No. Dude, I'll get fucking trapped in a cavern for 3 days. That's like my biggest fear is all the claustrophobia ones. Where like somebody's trapped in like with limited amount of air somewhere. Oh my god, those I get stressed through the screen, man.
I have to say that all of those types of sport endeavors, you notice that only white people are the stupid ones to do that kind of shit. Like spelunking, parachuting, deep sea diving,
Cavern
all
exploring.
that stuff.
Cavern exploring.
Yeah, just like, let's go down in a hole that no one's been in before and possibly get trapped upside down. That sounds exciting.
I love caves. When I was in Boy Scouts, we went to the Minnesota Canada border and we slept in a cave.
Oh wow!
Cool.
Like I said, white people shit.
In February.
White people.
In
Only white
February,
people don't sleep in a cave.
the highest I ever got on our trip where we slept in the cave was 0.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Best sleep of my life. It was perfect.
I have a bunch of pictures from being inside the cave. But oof. Being a mile in a mountain, it's pretty crazy. We went in a minecart and everything. It was really awesome.
Sewon said a friend of mine did that during their trips to Mexico, I believe.
Mexico.
They have one of these resorts. I don't know if it's real or man-made. I heard it was partially real and partially man-made, but like you go river rafting through a cave system. And like one of these the Mexican resorts or whatever. One of my friends, she does cruises and stuff like that, and she takes all these fabulous vacations all over the place.
I did something similar to that. It was a very small one, mind you, but it was at a place called Xcaret.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you heard of them?
Yeah. She showed me a video of that, and that may even be the one that
cool.
I'm thinking of.
It didn't have like a natural cave system like you could kind of scuba dive through, or
Right.
kayak or something like that. But that was a really cool little theme park.
Wow,
it was
you've actually been there.
Yes.
Oh my god, I gotta talk to you.
Granted, it was like 15 years ago, so it's been a minute.
Right.
Travel much. I've had like maybe 4 vacations that are cool, and then outside of that, vacation.
More travel, I think, would be good and needed for all of us.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with one of our topics, eh?
Yes.
Right.
And seeing how we've got a nice little background there for Anthony.
I literally was sitting here like, what should I do for a background? I always switch it up, and I was like, well, we're doing Wally, so there you go. Answer for me.
All right,
now I feel like I should join you, Anthony. I should go find myself a Wally picture.
Do it.
Gotta do it right now while we're starting this conversation.
Are we headed towards a Wally-like existence?
A Wally-like.
Well, you know what? When I think about that, what's the first thing I think of? I think of all the fat people in like the little air scooter things that just like they don't have to walk or do anything, and all of their meals are provided out of a cup, and just everybody has the same exact like body shape. Because
I'm surprised that like today's day and age, like, could you really make that movie with that? Something like, you're shaming fat people. We're not all like that. I'm a ballet dancer.
Well, they explained that they did lose bone density because they were in space for generations,
700 years.
700 years. So 14 generations essentially. I mean,
right.
You've talked to anyone that's been to the International Space Station and stuff like that, for prolonged exposure in space, they do lose bone density. Their muscles do get useless.
So what I'm hearing is that when they did return to Earth, they all were just going to collapse under the weight of their own body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Awesome.
They didn't live.
I hear that the astronauts that agree to go on these space missions have to like basically sign a contract that they will exercise every day. Because if they don't, they're going to lose like a lot of their ligaments being, as closely tight together, and their muscle structure and things like that. So they literally have to exercise every day so that when they come back to Earth, their body isn't completely wrecked.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
did you guys ever? I don't know if you guys are into. My son got me into film theory and game theory with Matt Pat.
Yes.
Did you guys ever see the one on Wally about their food?
Yes.
About eating humans?
Yep.
Yes.
No, I missed this one.
It is for his cannibal weekend. Yes.
There was a whole weekend for it. Lovely.
Yeah, he has an assortment of channels. He has the food channel, game channel.
I talk about Matt Pat all the time, actually. Yeah.
I love Matt Pat. His
Matt
stuff
Pat's
is so
awesome.
fun. But yeah, he did have a cannibal thing where like all the channels did something about that had to do with cannibalism, and for film theory, it was Wall-E. Because the theory was, okay, if they've been out in space for 700 years and nobody's seen a plant, nobody knows what a plant looks like, what have they been eating?
This is very true.
Very true.
You can't have a space cattle up
I
there.
always looked at it as it was like synthetic junk food anyway, so
Well, not necessarily junk food, but it'd be synthetic food because we're currently working on being able to 3D print food and make meat just by rearranging molecules and other things. So technically, they could have done lab-grown meat and plants and just made it into food that way too. They didn't have to necessarily eat people. But I mean, I guess if you have to, you have to. They would never know.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I'm curious. What points do you think we're heading towards? Well, like talking about the AI, talking about our size, talking about
destroying the planet.
one company taking over the entire world, like B&L.
Disney already did that.
Well, it's Amazon for selling us stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and in fact, I remember, and maybe it was even on one of the past film theories. One of the YouTube channels was talking about if you look through the Pixar movies, you can see the company B&L growing in size. So that during the Cars movies, B&L is one of the main sponsors. Hey,
Where do you think you're going to be on tonight?
Say, Wong was just asking about you.
Oh, that is precious.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't going to be on, but things around here changed. So anyway,
Oh.
Well, we're happy you're here.
I'm happy to see all of you. Van, are you at the shop?
I am at the shop. We have a show tomorrow, so I had to come pick up merch for the show tomorrow.
Nice.
So I was like, you know what? I may as well just knock out the show here while I'm here. What was I saying? I was saying
something about the Wall-E world takeover BLN.
BLN. Yeah, if you watch through the history of the Pixar movies, you can see like BLN is the battery on the Buzz Lightyear's batteries. BLN is a major sponsor in the Cars movies. So you can see the growth of the company of BLN until they become a company that really I would equate to a modern day Amazon. I mean, they basically have their hands in every single other business, including creating these space shuttles that are going to save humanity while their robots are on Earth cleaning up the mess that supposedly humans have made.
Interesting.
I don't know. I really think if you look at the themes in Wall-E, I mean, when did Wall-E come out? Like 20 years ago?
2008. No.
2008?
2008. No, was it 2000? No, I think actually it was, hold on. I just had it. Come on. It came out.
Anywho.
Yeah, I mean the things that you see in Wall-E there.
2008. Yeah, I was right.
We're still dealing with now. We're still dealing with pollution on the planet, and I think it's even more and more prevalent. Except for we don't have giant spaceships that are going to take us away. They haven't, Elon and the
Bezos.
Sky Blue or whatever is Bezos. Yeah, exactly.
Bezos, you mean with his penis spaceship?
It's aerodynamic.
I think it's complicated topics, honestly. But yeah, I think we do have, we have a garbage problem. This is true.
Right.
I will say that as a kid that grew up watching things like Captain Planet all the time, the subject of climate change or pollution has not necessarily been a new thing.
Nope.
And certainly consumerism in America really plays a factor, especially in the last 60 years or so. We went from being a nation that would build stuff that would be lastable or fixable to now it's just replaceable. Yeah. And it's almost done to that point where even with cell phones, there's a new one out every 6 months. We're not meant to keep these things. And in some cases, they're actually actively making them meant to fall apart,
Yes.
so that we have to keep buying them. So we're getting more
Right,
and more into
and-
that consumer thing where it's cheaper to just replace it than to fix it, and no one's going to
Which
be
is-
good at anything. And then, yeah, what's going to happen to
Just
the environment?
awful.
On top
Right.
on top of not just what we're doing, but what other countries that are trying to imitate us are doing. They're
Yeah.
polluting just as much as we are because that's what we are doing as the leaders. I think of oh God,
But I don't
what
think
is
we
it?
set the precedent of most toxic, though, do we?
I want to say the
Yeah.
United States produces 25% of the world's garbage.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I don't
This
know if
country-
it's the most pollution to like air quality. I think air quality in China.
China definitely
China.
has much worse air pollution. And yeah,
I mean, they're all
China
tied
and India.
together. And, like even
Right.
the Garbage Island was just like a giant continent of plastic.
I
out
was
there.
just gonna say that we have giant planets of garbage, or planets. We have
Right,
giant
floating out in the ocean.
floating islands of garbage. I didn't mean to say giant planets. So we have giant, yeah, giant.
Right, and
floating-
then you think about the fact that China's a really good example for one. In the last 25 years, China has risen from poverty to middle class the amount of citizens that encompass the United States.
Wow.
That's just one section of their their economy or whatever. From lower class to middle class was our entire country. The number of
Wow.
cars people used to go from having 25 years ago, they had 0 cars. Now people in China might have 2 cars. They're trying to be just like us. And so what happens when what happens if India does exactly the same thing?
That doesn't bode well for us.
Not at all.
Humans in society.
Well, I mean, we'd have to have the resources available to make that happen. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I feel like it is still one of those things that like it's going to create a turning point. Like even strangely enough, with like the pandemic, if you notice, just like that first month that the world like full on shut down, just how quickly a lot of nature replenished itself. In
Right.
multitudes
Oh,
of
yeah.
areas. So like it gives me hope that nature just needs a fucking break. Like all she's got to do is crash the internet for like 6 months and like watch it, like the hole in the ozone is going to just completely seal up.
Well, I've heard it explained, and I unfortunately don't.
For refineries. and
I don't think it's
stuff. Wow.
incorrect to say this at all, but I've heard it explained that human beings are the virus
Yeah.
inside the body that is the earth.
Oh,
And
yeah.
when we have
yeah.
a virus, right? When we got a flu or a cough, what do? We squash that motherfucker. Our body sends antibodies to come and kill those things that are making us sick, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, they explained that that's what tornadoes and earthquakes were.
Huh?
They were the
For us?
Earth's way of like getting rid of some of its viruses.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
there's
man.
the statistics have proved that more extreme weather has certainly occurred in the last few
Matt.
years. And looking at climate change and that as a justification, yeah, it totally makes
Yeah,
sense.
I agree.
We're going
I
to have a
absolutely
couple of
agree.
major events here soon, which, yeah, it's going to fuck some shit up.
Right. And
Yeah.
we've talked about it here before. I think it's funny how every major civilization, you will always have that naysayer in the group that's like, oh, this is the time, the end of the world is now, repent unto God or whatever. But
Yeah.
I honestly think we are on the cusp of the end of the world. And okay, we're gonna get existential here. I was thinking about that. I was watching a video about are we in a simulation? What are the odds that our life that we're living right now is actually a computer simulation? And crazily, the odds were very high that we were actually in a simulation.
Mhm.
But then I thought, but that would make total sense because it's almost like they talk about in the Matrix, right? Where they talk about this has been the 6th shutdown of the Matrix, right? If we were in a simulation, it would make sense that every generation thinks they're the end. You know what I mean? It's like we're all at the end of the game, and as soon as we're done, it reboots itself.
I mean, that could just be life in general.
Yeah.
We're all just like playing our own version of Ron from Rick and Morty.
Or we're just playing our own version of Sims. No, we are.
Right.
The
I will
Sims.
say there are times that I come across people that I'm like, that's an NPC. That is an NPC right there. that is just doing some mundane tasks. I don't believe that all these people really truly exist in all ways, shapes, or forms.
They're just extra populated people that are there just to make.
Yeah, I mean, Eli always says with the Bible, because there's always been like the prophets, like you said, like, oh, repent now, the world, the rapture.
Yes.
It's like we will never know when it happens, but like if it does happen, like what are you gonna do? It's literally the end of the world.
And I feel fine.
At least you're all along for the ride at that point,
right?
I
right?
guess.
If everyone's gonna go, like, hey, we all went out with the same bang at least, but. Obviously, I don't want to die, but I also hold hope that like I probably will live as something else again at some point.
I mean, my grandma thought the world was going to end at like 1976 or 75.
Right,
like
but
that.
I mean,
She's like,
we are coming into the times when it has been pre-foretold that we are coming into the time of singularity. We are less than 20 years away from singularity happening. We're also on a whole different scale.
Oh, wait.
That's when computers become smarter than humans.
Oh,
and then there's
okay.
a whole separate trajectory that shows that we have less than 20 years before our civilization crashes. And with what I see happening with the economy now, like I just feel like I love that line in Everything Everywhere All at Once where he's talking about, do you ever wake up the next morning and things don't feel quite right? You know what I mean? Like the shirt you wore yesterday doesn't feel the same. And even they make mention of it in The Matrix too, where he says, like you wake up and things don't feel quite right. There's something else out there. I feel like we are on this precipice that many of us can feel. It's almost like like your cat or your dog right before an earthquake and they start getting like jittery. They know something's fucking off, but they don't know what it is and they don't know what to do about it. That's how I feel like many of us are in the world right now. We can feel something big is about to happen, but we have no idea what it is or or how it's going to affect us. But you look at like right now in France, they've got huge revolts going on. Like, you don't see a lot of it on the mainstream news, but if you watch TikToks and like, YouTube from people in France, they have huge protests that are going on right now.
Well, that's mainly about raising the retirement age, right?
By 2 years, right? From 66 to 64. Well, I mean, just shows it could be a symptom of much bigger things. That could be just the straw that broke the camel's back.
I'm with them that it's fucked up for them to change retirement age and things like that. But like 2 years is not a huge, terrible difference. I'm pretty sure ours is much higher, is it not?
Yeah, it's like 75.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, again, we don't have jack shit for that. I will say to the effect of retirement age, like people live an awful lot longer now than they did, again, like 50, 60 years ago.
Dude, that is such a shitty American attitude you have.
But no, I'm just saying in general, like we weren't expecting it to be something that was meant to sustain people for 50 years. They looked at it as like maybe a 15 to 20 year kind of thing.
Right, but I also think that part of the challenge that we have is that we as a country, we are very different than many other countries, especially many of the other countries that we're supposedly peers with, right? The other first world countries. We are very backwards in our attitude towards free time. Mm-hmm. Almost every other country in the world has a much greater maternity leave. We'll have paternity leave as well. We'll also have, I think in France, when you start a job, shoot, at McDonald's, you get a guaranteed month off vacation. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and that's a shitty job. You know what I mean? Like they expect that. So I think whereas we have more of this quantity of life kind of idea, like, oh, I've got to work harder. I can work harder until I'm older here in America. In most parts of the other world, they value their free time. That's their time to spend with their family and do what they want to do instead of just working that grind.
America sucks for that, and trust again. That's kind of where I'm even at. Like I'm falling apart at my seams because I have to work all the fucking time just to pay for essentials.
Right.
I don't know how this bodes into the whole Wall-E world though, because none of those people were doing jack shit except watching TV and eating shit. So
Well, I mean, this is after, they had to leave and after, picking up the garbage. Of course, like that's just to keep everyone kind of in line, I guess. It's like, oh, it's better if they're just watching TV the whole time. I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Forrest?
yes, Graveyard Forest. I haven't heard you talk. Say nothing.
There you go.
I guess that's what Mr. Forrest thinks. Give me 1 second. I think the kids are home.
All right, let's go with Graveyard. What are your thoughts, Grave?
The complacency, yes, it definitely exists in the movie Wall-E because they have to do something. If there's not jobs to do other than the captain being human, everyone else are in fact robots, then yeah, humans have to have something to do for mental health reasons, right? If they're sitting around doing absolutely nothing and not entertained, they're going to have issues. There's going to be problems. They're very complacent. So, if you have, 10 generations going, hey, I don't have to work, absolutely fine. That's how you keep the population happy. You could say that we're doing, we're prepping for that now with the complacency that we have with doing stuff. And we say we don't want those hard jobs. We don't want to be the janitor. We don't want to be the burger clerk. We don't want to do all this stuff right now. Right. So a lot of people would love the idea of the existence of Wall-E because they don't have to work and they still get everything they need.
Right. And then, even in Wall-E, if you remember, there were scenes when like Wall-E was first coming in and he was like looking around the ship and checking out, like all the babies that they had were like plugged up to these like little pods, and they were, what it very much reminded me of which I have recently rechecked out was 1984. Mm-hmm. It made me think of like how everything is being indoctrinated to them, and then even like the kids were doing a nursery rhyme that was about how B&L loves you. You know what I mean? And like B&L is the one that's going to take care of you.
So, I mean, if you think of nursery rhymes and fairy tales, they all are supposed to be moral lessons and guidances of things to do and not to do. So why, if you're not going to trust the company that is literally doing everything for you, then you're going to have a revolt. So it makes sense to indoctrinate them from children. Now, I think them doing these plug-in and stuff like that is they have to learn what these things are because these things don't exist in their world. So, how are they going to teach them what a tree is? Right. There's no trees. So
I'm wondering how everybody like stayed breathing on this ship if they don't have plants.
Pretty phenomenal air filters is really what it is. I mean, if you think they'd be able to, they could scrub the air pretty well and inject it. If they're able to, let's say, make plants and animals by rearranging molecules, they'd be able to do the same thing with oxygen. They can rearrange the air and make oxygen too. We're talking someone that is advanced enough to build these multiple generational ships and sustain humans past the 100-year voyage that it was supposed to be, wherever it was supposed to be, right? 50 years, something like that.
Yeah, well, and that was the other interesting part of that movie, right? It was supposed to be like a 50-year voyage or something like that, and turned into a 700-year voyage because there was so much damn dirt and garbage on the planet that it wasn't being cleaned up.
Well, I mean, if they were really there for 50 years, only supposed to be there for 50 years, I feel like B&L knew about this hell of a lot sooner than that, and they prepped for it. That's how they were able to sustain all this stuff. Now, you could argue, why don't they just throw the garbage into the sun? They can build these giant spaceships, do a Futurama, shoot it off into space. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that, that may be the case, but we also have people that are working on ways with the garbage island to take of it. There's people cleaning it up and then are finding chemicals and creating compounds to naturally break it down back into its base elements. So, I will talk about like Mike Rowe here from Dirty Jobs. Is he said the answer isn't going green, it's going brown. We have to get rid of the stuff we currently have and figure that problem out before we can go green. It's going green's not going to fix everything because everyone has to have an electric car. Great. What are we doing with all the other cars?
Right.
They have to go somewhere.
Right.
And we say those cars have to go away. What are we going to do with them? So we have to find ways to break things back down into their components to reuse them. We have to reuse,
recycle them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Clean them up.
Recycle, reduce, and don't pollute. I forget the rest of that jingle.
So,
Uh,
I mean, most of the stuff that you've looked at, stuff that while I was cleaning up, was supposed to be biodegradable, and if it's been 700 years, it should be gone.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And they were talking, they're working on enzymes right now that will eat plastic.
Yes.
And that's really, I mean, because that was another scary statistic I heard was that every single person right now has plastic running through their body because every water source in the world is touched by, little bits of microscopic
Yep.
bits of plastic in everything.
Why do you think cancer rates and health rates are so high right now? It's because of all the gunk.
But we
Yeah.
have that, and we also have corn is in so much of our diet that
Yes.
our corn is now literally in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
it's corn.
We're part corn.
DNA.
we are. It has altered our DNA to have parts of corn into our DNA because it's so much in our system.
And GMOs.
Jesus.
God, it doesn't feel like I eat that much of it, but it must be in a lot of processed foods.
Oh,
yeah, because we have high fructose
Anything
corn
high
syrup.
fructose corn syrup that's made out
Rainbow
of
corn syrup. Mhm.
so any soda products that you have, I mean, almost a lot of things are sweetened with fructose.
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This may sound horrible, but I kind of think humanity needs a big reset. I think we have fucked ourselves and this planet so badly that if the
That's
planet
such
doesn't,
the coward's way out. Let's fix
Mhm.
the problem, damn it.
Yep,
you know
I
what though?
agree.
I don't see it being fixed, dude. Okay, we have cell phones, right? Forgive me, I know somebody up here is going to be smart enough to know what I'm talking about. What are the mines that they have, like literally have like children and women digging in these mines by their hands to get every cell phone needs it, and I think they said every battery that like every rechargeable battery needs it. It's some kind of element.
It's lithium ion.
Yeah,
Lithium ion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we literally have children and women, that are making less than a quarter a day, that are digging with their hands, that are working 12 hours to try to mine the shit for a cell phone that I'm going to keep for 6 fucking months and then throw in the trash. Dude, like
I don't know why you're throwing it in
humans
trash.
are too fucking evil, dude. Like I don't see a Star Trek society for us. I don't see us coming together and taking care of each other. I think if anything, it's more like, and Bill Burr said it wonderfully. It's because the sociopathic motherfuckers do not give a fuck about you and me.
No.
They don't care. Like you and I will have some decency. I'm not going to steal from you because that's not what I do, right? Those sociopaths don't give a fuck. They will steal from everybody. They'll steal from their mama. You know what I mean? So there are always going to be those people in the world that are just going to take. And it doesn't matter how good you treat them.
No,
It doesn't
of course
matter
not.
how much
and
love
they're
you
always
give
going to
them.
get away with it because they get us to fight about stupid, superficial shit instead of focusing on bigger issues that affect everybody, or
Exactly.
just abhorrently evil to begin with.
Exactly.
But that
Sociopathy
that's
isn't the root
that's
of
a
all evil,
societal
though.
reset we have all the time, though, right? Is like the revolutionary period, which I think that's a turning point that we're coming close to. Is when we do kind of turn on that ultra rich element and be like, you have had enough. You need to stop what you're doing, because at this point, everyone's just going to get so hungry that they will literally eat the rich and find their office, pull that person out, and then destroy them. And then what's going to happen to all that money that we put so much value into? That's literally a figment of our imagination. It's kind of cute.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering on our part that happens before we get to that point.
It's got to get way more uncomfortable than this.
Right.
Okay,
Have you seen Snowpiercer?
Yes.
Like, that is how I see society going. And we are the fucking tailies. Aubrey, did you want to say something?
I did. I wanted to say something about, you said you don't see us going through to a Star Trek like future. Well, here's the thing about what's funny about in Star Trek is that it had a very, very bloody history. Like we're talking about 2050s to 2100s. or I think it was 2032 to 2050s. There actually was like a World War III. There was the eugenics experiments. There were corporate corporations that took over and almost trashed the planet completely. And then after World War III, everything kind of went into this kind of downgrade period where technology was actually almost eradicated.
Right.
And then we had this buildup. So actually, we are quite going in that exact route that Star Trek's history did.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, it's still possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think things are going to get a lot fucking worse before they
Oh
get
yeah, they
better.
did. And they did in Star Trek. In fact, that's something that is talked about, like
I saw this
in
great.
many episodes.
I saw this great meme that like totally explains how I feel. It says, "How did I end up being born in the or how did I end up being born in the fuck around period and end up in my adulthood in the find out period?"
Which Gundam series, Matt? Which one are we talking about here?
Oh, Gundam.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're headed down the Gundam series. The Gundam, like the big robots, Gundam.
Gundam
No.
Wing.
I know what Gundams are. I know it.
Oh,
I'm talking about which series is he referring to?
oh.
There's several different series. Gundam Wing. Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about. Is Gundam Wing? That's funny.
I called it.
All right,
Forrest, say something. You're far too quiet.
Yeah, you were going to say something before the dog interrupted.
Sorry, I'm like listening to y'all and playing Zelda. So
Loser.
He's here, but he is not checked in. He's here, but he's really gone.
shit, if you only knew.
He just wanted the screen time.
I'm
Oh
here because
hell!
it's in my contract.
If this gets monetized, I am in approximately 60% of the screen.
I mean, I'm not exactly lying here.
I think you were lying. I just think it's funny.
So, golly, we got morbid really fast, didn't we?
this is the fun topic.
How did this
This is
become
a
our
light
light topic?
At this juncture, I still stand by the side of the individual. I think as long as there are individuals who can do and demonstrate proper care of themselves, of their property, of of their families and of their friends, you're not really going to kill that off. I mean, it is a revolution in and of itself. Every single day, and it sucks that we have to find these things out through TikTok and not through what should be our local news media that should be reporting for the best of things, and yet they continue not to. No, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
I never see Eric Voss doing this shit on New Rockstars.
Come say hello. Come on. I know.
Aww.
No.
Stupid dog. Yeah, I know what you want. You want ice. Here.
Hmm?
There you go. Yeah, you too, because you're bad. Here.
Hey, Aaron, we're on air.
I know. So, yeah, I mean, we're finding out individually, and as long as there's people out there who are figuring out slowly how to take proper care of everything, I mean, I don't think it's going to be this great big worldwide cataclysmic thing. You know what is cataclysmic? Like super volcanoes, or if NASA misses a meteor or some shit like that. That's cataclysmic. Nukes are cataclysmic. But this decay of society, like there's gonna come some generational gap where straight up revolution is gonna happen. And I'm not talking about 18 something revolution where we're all carrying guns and going after government officials. I'm talking about simple revolution, the ability to say no and stand by no. I mean, I hate to say it like this, but the United States citizens outnumber its officials, 10,000 to 1? I
Yeah.
don't exactly see this paranoid thing that people think is going to happen where every cop in America is going to come door to door and take all of your rights and privileges away. There are just too many people and bullets for that. Sorry.
Well,
That's
and
just-
even the people, like you're saying, those cops, they're still people. They still
Yeah.
have families. They're not. There's no way that they're getting paid enough to like basically look at everybody and be like, sorry, fuck you.
yeah.
You know,
Mm.
we gotta protect the elites in capital city.
Well, I mean, this is really interesting. When you say about the individual, I think yes, the individual people in a group can suck. However, I've been to Japan, and they have a very tight knit society where everyone looks out for each other. It's very communal. And let me tell you, it's one of the most cleanest countries I've ever been to. And it's actually one of the cleanest areas I've ever been to.
Oh, yeah.
The city itself is so clean, and because they have, I mean, they have a lot of, laws to protect all that. I mean, we're one of the only. Talk about gun laws. We're still the only country that still has doesn't have background checks or registration for guns.
Well, we also have the
And
most
it's a
guns
problem.
per capita out of anybody else either, which
We
is
also
just,
have the most, school violence due to guns. But anyways, and that's neither here nor there. The point I'm trying to make is that if it's up to to having the individual, or if you are collectively as a society looking out for everyone, I think that's actually better in the long run. I mean, they still care about the individual, but it's like everything communally to make everything work as it needs to, and it shows. And that's just the way that they're raised. So I don't know if it's necessarily because individuals,
What-
the simple individuals.
for them, it is definitely a cultural thing, and I think that speaks a lot to a big problem with American culture, right? Is that we're all raised to be these very selfish, capitalistically driven people. Like it's all about making the money, and you got to be better than other people. That's the thing that I always find really fascinating when the talk of universal health care as a human right is just so divisive. They're like, well, no, because if you do that, then you're gonna have this terrible coverage like everybody else. It's like, okay, but everyone would have coverage,
right? And
it's they almost feel like, oh no, because I've earned this ability to pay thousands of dollars a month for medical care, I deserve to have that available to me, and you don't.
And terrible healthcare in other countries is a right-wing myth. If you talk to people from other countries, many of them enjoy the fact that they don't have to pay for prescriptions and don't have to pay deductibles just to go see the doctor.
Well, yeah, if something goes wrong, say something like me, I could literally just go see someone and be like, oh yeah, this is your issue, we can fix you, and then there you go, and my taxes paid for that.
Right.
It's when I need it, and I'm certain that it's got to be there's other things. We're getting we got off topic.
Because this actually has
the world.
Wait, hold on, but this has relevance. This is relevant in the sense that we looking out for each other. If we try to make sure that as a collective we are watching out for our waste, then, and this is all indicative of that. If it's just not me, we wouldn't get into the mess with the Wally, because that was literally how that happened. Is everyone was out for themselves. Everyone was only thinking in terms of money and throwaway products, and that's how Wally's planet. Right. That's how the planet on our planet on Wally just became a trash heap.
Right, but I think that's a byproduct of this constant capitalism that we live in, and I personally think that's what they were saying in the movie Wall-E too. That
absolutely.
We were trained that way to be capitalists, that we need to buy more so that we can feel good. If I have a better house than my neighbor Bob, then that must mean I'm a better man than Bob is, right? So I need to go buy more things and buy the latest TV and all these things. But that's just to feed the needs of these corporations that actually own all the lobbyists. They own all of the politicians. What is it? I think they said that all food companies, every food company in the world is actually owned by 10 10 bigger corporate companies.
Mhm.
10 companies control all of the food that we eat.
Yeah,
Like,
Kraft is one of them.
Yes, Kraft teas. Also, Tiavana owns both Starbucks and Pete's. So even if you buy, it doesn't matter which one you buy from. They're
Right.
owned by the same corporation. So, I mean, they say like I think it's 5 or 10 corporations own everything.
Right.
In
And
America,
literally
right?
I saw this other one that was like, you know how like you buy Cheerios and then you go to like Walmart and there's like Cheery X's, you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
kind of the same product. They're literally manufactured in the same building
Mhm.
using the same recipe. They just, their shapes are a little bit different so that they can sell it under
Honey
a
Nut
cheaper name.
Tastios.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. So they have the illusion that they're from different entities. So they're not a oh my
Monopoly.
gosh, monopoly. Yes,
Right.
they're not a monopoly, but they really are.
They were saying that the majority of those great product brands that you see at Walmart, that's exactly what it is. It is the original product repackaged under the Walmart name
Yes.
for a cheaper price, but it is
Yeah.
literally the same exact product.
But I've also tasted those products and they don't taste the same.
This is true for some of them.
I don't know if it's a mental thing, but I've
It's
tried
mental.
a lot of great value things with the side-by-side comparison.
Right.
And it is not the same. It does not taste the same. I don't know what it is.
All right. Well, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, though. To
Okay.
counter your arguments of the evils of the major corporations own everything in the world. Right?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
How else is every corporation going to be able to feed everyone if they have to work through 100 people to do it?
I mean, that's fair.
You can't
It's an interesting argument.
Because you talk about communities. We have communities, and the problem is if you're not in that community, it's fuck you. They have communities, they just won't deal with other communities. And there's no possible way we're going to get every mom and pop grocery shop, every mom and pop farmer to collectively go together and feed and take care of the world. That's an unfortunate solution that we have. It's you have to have the B&L because were people living, were people being fed, did they have everything they did? Absolutely did in Wally. Right?
I think it'd be great if people in general push for more of like public learning to how to make your own little gardens or like community gardens.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
even
that's
though
kind of the downside of having those corporate entities, though, Matt, is that they are the ones that close a lot of the community
Right.
gardens and the community grain
Exactly.
centers and
But-
And
the
they'll
small
use
time farmers
But even growing your own stuff at your house, like nothing's going to stop
like
you from
Monsanto.
No.
that.
well, there are
It'd be
some
good
in
for, like,
some places
peppers and tomatoes and herbs and stuff like that.
there
People
are
need to get more
they
into
do
that.
use city
Just don't
ordinances
have time
on
to
what you
tend
can
to garden.
grow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
In a lot of places there are city ordinances on what you can grow. Oh, but
Yeah.
my argument to that, Matt, is like right now, one of the things that you're seeing, one of the things that's being talked about is Bill Gates. Bill Gates, who is known for Microsoft, right, is quietly going around the country and snapping up farms left and right. He's buying a lot of these farms that are defaulting on loans that they had to. So what happens is rules come out that say, okay, to process chicken, it must be done this way. That means that these farmers now have to buy new machine and new equipment to keep up to the new standards. But if they can't afford to keep up with these new machines, they lose their farm and get bought out by like Tyson's Chicken, who then will buy all these little farms and then reconvert them to the way that they do it, which means that a lot of times you don't get a choice on, do I get a free range chicken or do I get a cage locked up chicken? You're going to get what you're given.
Now, who's implementing these rules?
Our legislators
with
being paid off greatly
hold on.
by lobbyists.
Okay,
Wait,
but we're saying it's the FDA making these new rules. You have explicitly said is evil and making better health standards and shutting down people.
Okay.
Right?
Have y'all heard about the cheese caverns?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, the dairy industry in this country is freaking stupid.
So I think the solution isn't to have everyone have their own 5 acres to grow whatever they want. I think the solution is to make the corporations responsible and do what they have the power to do. It's not dismantling them. It's make them responsible and be able to do the things they should be able to do.
Yeah, but then Republicans rebrand that and say, "Oh, it's government intervention telling corporations what to do. We can't have regulations and responsibilities. We just need to make record profits every single quarter."
I'm not saying that we don't kill all the Republicans. No, I'm saying it's the whole idea of the community. It's back to it. It's Republicans versus Democrats versus independents versus everyone else. We have to have something that's in charge to oversee everything. You can have your own communal gardens, fantastic, but if you get sued by your neighbor because of something you did, which is a sue happy country we live in, you're not covered by it versus a grocery store that is. So that's the problem with corporations, is they do have these loopholes they do jump through. We may hate them, but what if we didn't have all these grocery stores that say, hey, by federal regulation, you have to have this grocery store in this poverty area, where if you are a mom and pop shop, you may not be, where people have quick access to food.
I don't know how it is where you are right now, but right now in California, we're dealing with like one of the laws that they're trying to deal with is banning like Skittles, banning a couple of other different types of candies that are known to have dyes that are carcinogenic. Now these dyes have been banned in other countries for a long freaking time, and it's not like we're just now learning about it. It's just that the companies that use it are having a harder and harder time defending it, and having a harder and harder time, convincing people that it's a good thing to have yellow number 5 or red number
40.
Yeah, red number 40 exactly. And then you have things like, like I know with, they were talking about like, God, I heard on this one report, like a lot of the garlic that we buy, 80% of the garlic that we buy comes from China. In China, these are literally grown in fields of feces. It comes through their sewage system. That's how they grow their garlic. And so they put all these chemicals, they put these bleaches on it to help kill and disinfect things. But like the more and more chemicals we're putting on it, so that an apple will last 3 more days on the shelf, is fucking our bodies up and fucking our kids up.
Yeah, that.
But I love Mountain Dew.
I love Mountain Dew. No, that's the other thing. Like what reason why a lot of people actually we're seeing more people with celiac and gut rot and gut problems is because of the way they actually process wheat here in America too. So they put Roundup on the wheat to make it easier for the machinery.
Right.
And that's true. And Monsanto also genetically modifies their food, and they get all they go in and they buy all these patents of like for seeds, which shouldn't be patented, but they do. And then they go and modify them. They tell little growers, "Oh, you can't grow that seed because we own the rights to it." How is that even fair?
I mean, these genetically modified seeds has what made other countries able to grow food to eat.
No, they most of them banned them. They're banned in other parts of the world. In Europe, they're completely banned. Monsanto.
That's how they made plants grow.
Monsanto is banned in most countries.
I'm not saying Monsanto. I'm saying genetically modified seeds to grow in harsher environments is part of genetic modification to help plants grow in places they normally would not be able to.
I mean, and it depends on what you're talking about with genetically modified, because there's actually several different types, the genetically altered ones, and then there's ones that have been spliced, together to create a new hybrid plant that will actually grow in those things. So I understand what you're saying.
So would you rather have the genetically modified seed that is repellent to bugs, or would you rather have your Roundup? Those are your two choices, basically, in this world.
I don't know, because I would rather. I mean, I don't know, because I think
I would like it if it was a sustainable thing that it's genetically modified, so it's more sustainable, and readily available without causing harm to the body as a direct result of pesticides or things like that.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I will say that I saw something recently about how like even like broccoli, cauliflower, kale are all like derivatives of one type of like mustard plant essentially.
Mhm.
Right.
And those are things that we've
That we
cultivated and
created.
changed over time too.
Right.
So I mean, it
Yeah.
obviously has some great benefits here and
I mean,
there.
again, that's part of that splicing. Sorry, that's agriculture. That's part of splicing together different plants
We
to
want
make
better sustainable agriculture.
more hybrid,
full of poison.
sustainable. Yeah, agriculture.
I mean, most of the food in Europe is not what you'd get here because the stuff they give us here is literally poison.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, we should be starting to like glow fluorescent now that we're like full of plastic and
Well,
poison.
you want to be like the radium girls?
Tolerant to like every kind of thing that might kill us.
But I mean, that's the problem is that we have all these corporations that go and lobby, and then they relax all these regulations that were put in so that we don't get poisoned, and then we get poisoned, and
See,
I
think
and then
David,
we collect all that waste, and then we'll end up like what?
Oh, don't tell me the
See, it all
American
comes back around.
society thrives off of people being sick all the time.
right?
Oh, really?
It
No.
is capitalism. The problem, I think, the problem that we have when you, and I don't really know what the solution is. I don't, I'm not necessarily a socialist but whenever you put profit as your primary function, when that comes above everything else, when that becomes above human health, then you've already shown me what your intentions are, right? Like I can't listen to you or think that you're going to produce a product that is in my best interest if I know that in the bottom line you will gladly fuck me over to save a quarter of a penny percentage on each package of cereal you sell me.
Well, then people again got to start connecting on one of these singular issues rather than fighting about stupid superficial shit. And actually be like, hey, we need this to be the reality and the goal, and we're going to force you guys to make that happen. I think that's what you were saying earlier, too. Forrest was saying. Anywho, we've now crossed into a fun segue, I believe. Because
well, let's put everyone to prison then. So they run their
I mean, we're talking about people trapped in a system that's perpetually bad for them. I think that's a perfect way to segue.
It is.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see. I can't read the beginning. Something or just
that
punishment.
was the light topic. What the
prison, rehabilitation, or just punishment? I know. Maybe these should have been put. Maybe these should have been put in the other order. Like this should be the light topic. I don't know.
Yeah, this is the light topic.
We could say, do you like Care Bears? Oh, they're Marxists, and we'll go there.
I mean, Marxism on paper is not bad. Wow, I cannot talk today. Have you read Communism on Paper? It actually is not bad on paper. As a practice, in many cases, awful.
Say Wong says, have prisons become a business entity? Of course, they have become a business entity.
John Oliver the past 10 years, Say Wong. Yes, he's done 5 segments on that. Come on.
Yeah, dude, I fucking love John Oliver. Yeah, man, and that was did we do that as a topic, the record industry? Yeah, we did do that as a topic, the record industry, how there was supposedly a meeting between the prison system. I don't think conspiracies. I don't think you were here that night, Anthony, but it was supposedly when they were coming up with the for-profit prison systems, a bunch of them met with some of the biggest record executives in the early 90s in LA and said, we will pay you a percentage of our corporate shareholdings from these prisons if you start making music that encourages drug use, that encourages bad behavior, that encourage, you know what I mean? And you look at a lot of the fucking modern music that we have now, it's fucking horrible.
I know.
What does it encourage?
I don't think that's true, but
I didn't know we had hip hop in Woodstock in '69.
Yeah,
drug use.
Right.
Yeah, first of all, drugs made some of the best music ever for a minute. I don't know about stuff that's like. I mean, there are things out there that influence us in that way. Like, oh, you should go and be this, like the ketamine or whatever the fuck it is, doing Molly. I can't feel my face. And anywho, at the same time, like that's the same argument as like, oh, do video games make us more violent, or does media influence us in this way? Like, yes and no, but at the same time, like that's still the wonderful thing about human choice. I don't think all drugs are bad. If anything,
I'm not saying that it's
drug
drugs
use is one of those things that we need to have a better understanding and look at, because some things are beneficial. Some things can be very useful. So, like decriminalizing drugs would be a big thing. But I don't see music being like, go out there and shoot people. Like,
well, okay. Well, so first off, that was what they were advocating for: more violence in the music, more drug use. And it's not because the drugs were bad, but these were things that people could get locked up for. The goal of these companies was to get more people in prisons, and they wanted to do that by starting to influence the younger generations through their music. And which is why you have like
conspiracy theory.
I mean, it sounds like that. Supposedly, this letter was one that came out in the early '90s. It's something you can look up online. I can find the
yes, because everything on the internet is true.
I love the Boondocks episode where they talk about how rap culture is very heavily influenced by prison culture, and prison culture is also super gay.
That's actually true. That part is actually
so many closeted rappers.
Right.
There was something to be said about the music industry, like, oh, you need street cred and shit like that. Like that's a factor. But like, as far as prisons and it within the topic of the rehabilitation or punishment, yes, it's good to have prisons that punish people who do like terrible offenses. At the same time, there are too many people who are in prisons for things that really aren't terrible enough or should be a rehabilitation thing, but because these things are privatized and outsourced for work purposes, it's essentially modern day slavery. Like we have those slave wages where people aren't even making anything close to what a minimum wage is while they're in prison, because that's serving their time. But at the same time, like they're not getting out with any benefit to this. It's not like they got a new skill or they got like a career or something. Like, so what is the rehabilitation for? Like what's the purpose? And then again, if people in prison over nothing, sometimes
when I had brought this topic up, my idea was I was watching a documentary that had to do with isolated incarceration. What the effects of long-term
isolation.
What is it called? Yeah, long-term isolation. What is it called? Why is my brain not working tonight? Like, what is it called?
Solitary confinement?
Solitary confinement. Thank you very much. So they were talking about the effects of the long-term effects of solitary confinement, and some of these people, like, they would be thrown in solitary confinement. I mean, for years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and in solitary confinement is being in a room by yourself for 23 and a half hours a day. They were given a half hour a day to get out and like take a shower or have free time in the yard. But it's not even like I remember like they showed this little clip of what it was like to be in solitary confinement. And it wasn't even like it was just quiet or something. It was constantly people banging on the doors and screaming and let me out. And can you imagine being in an environment where you're stuck in a room for 23 and a half hours a day and you just hear people yelling all around you of how horrible they are, and they're crying, and they're mentally fucking breaking down. The human brain is not designed for that. And I think a lot of times these prisons are set up more as punishment than as ways to try to rehabilitate people to bring them back into society. Because you put somebody in a fucking cage by themselves for 15 years, they're going to have some fucking head problems coming back into society.
Well, there is something to be said about how, again, like people, what we were saying earlier, they work hard, they deserve it. You deserve to have less. And a lot of these.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Where did he go?
Wait. My bad. I'm hitting buttons. Sorry, my bad. Go ahead.
Did I completely cut out?
Yeah, that was my fault.
Cute.
Sorry. You were saying something that people deserve it.
Oh yeah, so I think that somewhere in our society we have this mental, and a lot of it does come from like the ultra Christian side, like the
Mhm.
divine punishment aspect of like you deserve this, you deserve misfortune, or not necessarily misfortune, but you deserve to be abused emotionally and spiritually by having this kind of excessive treatment. And again, it really does come down to what did they do. Because I think in certain cases where they're like ultra violent people, like if they're going to be violent in the prison itself, like that's why sometimes you're in solitary, or because of the kinds of acts that you did to get in prison. But I do think that the degree of prisons, or what are the offenses that people are there for, should be kind of what sets apart like what kind of rehabilitation center it could be. But I do think that we should have more focus on like bringing people back into the fold, making them functional members of society, fixing whatever, either like drug dependencies or traumas that they've gone through that have led people to do those things. Because one of my favorite stories of all time, Les Mis, it's all about a convict, Jean Valjean, who didn't do anything that bad. He was just trying to save his sister's son from dying of starvation, ends up in prison for 9 years, leaves incredibly bitter because he's now given these papers that mark him as a convict, so he can't get a job. He can't get one that pays fair. No one will take him in. So life literally is shit and hardcore on him. And will literally turn right back into doing a criminal act because it's a dog-eat-dog world. It's only through the kindness of somebody trying to rehabilitate him and giving him the opportunity does he turn for the better.
Right.
I mean, ironically, I'm talking about the punishment from the ultra-Christian right, and then I talk about Les Mis, which has a bishop. I have bought your soul for God. Like,
there's a couple things that I want to address with that. They so in Sweden they actually have a prison system that is actually really good at rehabilitating people back into society, and they actually tend to make it actually works. Here, one of the problems is that when you get sent to prison, you don't generally come back out learning something or being rehabilitated. You just generally, unless you work hard at it, get kind of fucked up, and you go through the you basically just go in more and more into the system, because they've shown that people who go into the system, especially early on, have a tendency to keep going back into the system, because unfortunately that's what they know, that's familiar, and that's safe. I mean, there are people that have gone into the system just because they're like, well, I get health care there.
Right.
Too.
And the one that really pisses me off is like in California, we have I call them the slave firemen, but we have inmates that go when we have all these natural fires and they help put out these fires. But guess what? You can't be a fireman in California with a felony. So that means that they can't, these skills, all these things that they're learning, they can now not take this on and get out of prison and go get a job with the fire department. Although they're probably one of the best qualified people to do so, because they spent many years on the fire line.
And that's so fucked up. That's such a, sorry, messed up. That's really messed up.
No, it's Friday night. You can curse.
Well, and then the other one I wanted to say is that what's interesting about the prison system, and like they've shown like a correlation between drug use and like after school programs and communal like stuff to do. So there's this experiment, and it's not, I mean, it's called the Rat Park experiment. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. I think I might have mentioned it before on this channel. Where they show about like, drug use and related to like activities and such. And it's usually like people use drugs because they're unhappy, because there's not a lot going on. Like you see that in poor counties, and there's not a lot of social things going on, a lot of, being able to better yourself or whatever. It tends to have a lot of drug use, mostly because people are depressed. They don't have money to buy anything. There's no job. So they go and they want to escape.
A form of escapism, yeah.
Yeah, and so the way to, the solution isn't to send those people to prison. It's to get them rehabilitated.
And I know here in California, and this is very much true.
Yes.
They will determine
the number
of prison cells they need next year based on the STAR testing scores of third graders this year. So they look at the STAR scores of the third graders this year to determine how many prison cells they're going to need next year.
That is
If
really strange.
if that is not another argument, because there's been many people that say that if you look at how schools are set up and how prisons are set up, they're very much
eerily
set
similar.
up. What was that?
They're eerily similar.
Exactly. The way the systems are set up so that you're already indoctrinated into listening to what's being told what to do. Prisons prey hard on addiction and mental illness in America.
Yes. Yes, it is. Especially since Grandpa Reagan
Right.
did away with all of the mental institutions. Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, I don't know if
And
anybody
killed off a lot
here
of
has
those
been,
programs.
been to jail or done any serious time. I have not, but one of my close boys did. And he was telling me, obviously I had a lot of questions of what it was like what's it like on the inside. But he was saying
Did
that
they touch
almost
your butthole?
almost immediately he said he was forced to click up for his own safety. My friend was black, so he had to kind of join the black group, even though on the outside, like we all hang out with everybody. You know what I mean? He was cool. It didn't matter if you're Hispanic or Filipino or whatever else.
Tribalism, yeah.
But in prison, he was forced to click up into this gang. Otherwise, he could be picked on by any of the gangs. I guess if you don't have a group that you're
it's tribalistic.
Very tribal. Yeah.
And if anything, it's like Mean Girls, but like on crack
Prison
and
edition.
Steroids.
But yeah, it does happen quite often that much. I mean, I was just telling Eli about American History X yesterday.
Oh,
If you haven't seen that movie, do yourself.
Oh man,
it's
same with American Gangster. That both of those are fantastic for that reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of sad that like that's what's gonna happen. I know if I ever got locked up, I'd be that hoe. I'm gonna be that hoe. I'm the prettiest bitch in that fucking. I will find someone to walk around and be like, "Yes, daddy," because I am not that kind of fighter. I just gotta find like the one that like looks at me the right way. Is like, "I'll protect you, baby." Like, okay. How many boys in your posse? I'll take them all. I'm busting it out. It's fine. The same time, rape is not funny. Okay.
No, rape is not funny. Not at all.
Right.
And,
that's why you put a hoe like me in there. At least I'd just be like, yeah, it's consensual for the most part.
Oh man, like Eli, honey, I'm sorry.
So yeah, I don't.
Oh, if he and I were both in prison, like we would just tag team that shit. Are you kidding me? And let's face it, if there was something I'm going to prison for, I'm sure he's coming with me.
Oh, that's kind
I
of
love Forza's face when you were saying that.
Man.
Hi, Forz. You still playing Zelda?
Maybe.
You want to comment
I'm just
on
here
this?
for the paycheck.
Oh, the prison system. I'll be honest. The last time we spoke about what was it? How many people were in the room, Van? 4 people, 5 people, and it was you're gonna make this type of music, and that's the end of that's the end of the story, and like that was pretty freaking crazy, actually. I mean,
I wasn't there for that whole topic. I just rushed and was like, let me tell you about music. Bam, I'm done. I'm out.
You did sweep through like a hurricane, didn't you, sweetie?
I did. I was like, I came in like, let me tell you some things that I know about music because I went to school for this shit. Here you go. Bam, I'm done. Out.
And then she's out.
So why do you guys think, what is the purpose of us having the highest incarceration numbers in the entire world?
Profit.
I mean, people get thrown in jail for all sorts of reasons, but a lot of it is just petty and stupid shit, to be honest.
You could call him the health inspector.
Well, I mean, we have high number of population in general for compared to most countries. We can't compare ourselves to Europe. And kind of in China, they do kind of just throw you in jail for being different religions, so you can go die. So there's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they don't. I mean, maybe in China and Europe they don't really do that though. In
Yeah,
Europe
but even
and
even
Britain.
percentage while if you were to break it down, to percentages, we by far outnumber any other country as
Yeah.
far as people locked up.
Well, citizens per capita, yes.
Citizens per capita.
I mean, there are some people who deserve to be there. Like, I know someone who's incarcerated in San Quentin right now, and he deserved to be there. He deserves to be there. And he's going to be there till they put him to death. So he's on death row.
Yeah, and
Death
that's
row.
my other question is like, what is the point of life in prison? Like, why not just kill him? Like, if I'm going to be spending the rest of your life taking care of you and feeding you and giving you
Profit.
health insurance, like
What? No, it's also again comes back to what I said earlier: is that they want
Yeah.
them to suffer.
They want him to suffer, but they also want him to work and they can make things that, for just pennies. I mean, not something that they're doing, but
I don't think
I
so many
mean-
prison inmates on death row are like doing shit outside of sitting in their cell. But even still, it is this idea of they need to suffer for it by that isolation and by just prolonging it out as something that's very, very lengthy. And then like say what I'm saying,
there's a lengthy process. Yeah.
The actual act of putting someone to death is lengthy for a reason. There have been very rare cases, but still cases where innocent people have been put to death.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were convicted, even though they then found out, that wasn't the case. Whoops.
Yeah,
and they exonerated them.
There's another movie
right
that's about that, actually. It's a really good one. I forget what it's
called. It's with Kevin Spacey.
Yes, it
it's
is.
That one. Yeah, it's with Kate Winslet and Kevin Spacey.
Yes.
It's about the woman who was found dead, suffocated, and he was put on death row. And he was like, and there's part of the paper, or the part of the paper. There's part of the she finds Kate Winslet's a journalist. She finds the tape that shows that she actually killed herself.
It was suicide.
Huh?
It was like suicide, and it was to prove a point.
It's to prove a point.
Yeah. So they knowingly convicted him or made it seem like he was guilty, even though he wasn't.
Right. I mean, he was in on the plot though, but he was in on it. They made it so he looked guilty, even though he didn't actually do it, but he was there. He actually knew it was going to happen. It's a really interesting movie. I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's. It's hard to say. Like my friend who is in there, while he deserves to be there, like he otherwise is not a violent person, or hasn't been in a long, long time. But I grew up with him, so it's like I have a different viewpoint on him than most people. Like when my friend found out who I was corresponding with, she was like, "Why are you corresponding with this person?" I said, "Well, you see, I grew up with him, so I know who he is. I know he's not going to hurt me because my mom and his mom have been best friends since I was like 5. So it's like, well, he's like, it's hell of a drug. I don't know if I want to state who this person is. You might know them, you might not. Just talking, Aaron, I think you and I were talking about it.
You want to tell us what they did?
I'm
guessing no. I won't push.
I mean, okay.
By the way, that movie was called Murder in the First.
Murder in the First, yeah, great movie.
I was literally IMDb. Thank you.
Okay, they did him and his brother did a series of, well, it was kind of like a spree killings in the early 2000s, and they found the bodies in the river.
Okay.
Yeah, so that. But I know them. I knew them really well growing up. So yeah.
So we're going to hear about them on Mr. Ballin. Got it.
So when I was when I flew back to North Carolina a few years ago, I picked up 2 magazines, like in the airport, just to have something to read on the plane. And I pulled a fact from each magazine that are interesting separate, but when put together were scarier than hell. So in one magazine, I learned that the
You can take me
typical
off the screen,
average
guys.
person, the average person knows 300 people on a first name basis, right?
Mhm. Right.
The other information that I learned was that there is an average of 1 in every 100 people is a sociopath, meaning that you know 3 sociopaths on a first name basis.
And
I mean,
that's what I was
unless you
saying
are
about
one of them.
That's what I was saying with sociopathy isn't necessarily bad in itself. Most sociopaths actually aren't violent. Same with psychopaths; they're actually not violent, but they like most of our CEOs and like people in charge fall under that range.
Yeah,
Actually.
because they don't
Right.
care about anybody. They lack empathy.
Exactly.
Yeah, they either have a hard time with empathy. Like one of my really good friends is a sociopath. He's a diagnosed sociopath, and he does have empathy. It's just very selective. He's very selective empathy, which is really interesting because he's explained it to me. And like he's like people who I love and people who I have very very strong emotion or strong feelings for. Like I have very high empathy for them. But if you're not in my group and you do something to hurt someone I love, you will be dead. And it's like, whoa, okay, all right. And I mean, he's been one of my closest friends. He's one of my closest friends in middle school, and then we lost contact for 10 years. And he came back into my life 13 years ago, and we've been good ever since. So, and he is actually the one who reached out and apologized for the falling out. So, but definitely a sociopath. So it's really interesting how it is, but most sociopaths aren't violent. They just can be manipulative and they just lack empathy, or they have very very unstable empathy or selective empathy, and they also have a broken moral system.
Right.
So it's really interesting.
I definitely, all of it's basically I think we definitely need a lot more corrective measures in our prison systems to help rehabilitate people, help get them the help that they need,
guys.
so that they can be, valuable members of society, as opposed to just rotting away and torturing people for just the satisfaction of torturing them in a little box.
Well, there's something beauty to the arc of redemption for anybody, right? Like that's something that I always like to think is possible, is that if you do something that's terrible or wrong or whatever, if you do pay that price and you do go through it, you should be able to work beyond it and rise above it and not be stuck with that. You should like, at what point is the punishment over? Is there a point to where people can move beyond that?
Exactly. I know with my boy that was that ended up in jail, he was given the option of an ankle bracelet, which he did, which I guess his truancy officer or his probation officer told him that like 85% of people that go on ankle bracelets usually end up going back into jail because they can't handle the freedoms and they go back and end up doing whatever it was that got it put in jail in the first place. My boy was one of the ones. It was kind of like Aubrey said, like when I heard my boy went to jail, I knew it wasn't for fighting. I knew it was for something stupid. You know what I mean? And in his case, he stole some checks, basically is what happened. He stole some checks and then tried to cash them in and got caught. So I knew that whatever he did, it wasn't like a violent crime or it wasn't something that he was directly hurting people. You know what I mean? Oh, sorry. I forgot to change the camera. That he wasn't directly hurting people.
My neck. Hey,
don't stop.
But then I know, like, when he got on his ankle bracelet, I mean, the rules and requirement were so difficult. First off, he had to pay a monthly fee just to be able to rent this ankle bracelet. And then he had very strong restrictions of where he could be and at what times. Like, he was supposed to go get a job, but it was almost damn near impossible as a felon to get a job, or he had to be a college student. But, most people can't afford to be a college student if they don't have a job somewhere to pay for the credits for that they're going to college. So
I feel like that needs to be something that gets implemented, is when people get released, is that there's a job placement program for them so that they can get work And it's something that they're not going to have to go out and search for, because they always make you, oh, have you ever been convicted of this? Like they can't judge you for that, but they
Right, but they
most
do.
often will.
Right.
Do you guys not have those programs out in California?
Not as much as I think that they need to be. I know that I work with a couple of people that are like, in a halfway house situation or recovering from some sort of thing. So that, I mean, that's great. But I also work at a mom and pop place that, wanted me to suffer through it. So they're willing to take somebody, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're hired. Like,
so
Right.
I want to ask this question then. You talk about punishment, rehabilitation, what we need to do. I'll start with Forge on this question.
yay.
Yay.
Do you think there should be a separation of violent crimes versus non-violent crimes and have one is punishment, one is rehabilitation?
Yes.
Good.
Yes. Because jail is, I mean, I don't care how the hell you slice it. Jail is a punishment. You are separated from society to be confined. That is a punishment. I mean, what happened to 80s and 90s kids when they were bad? Go to the corner. You are now separated from your peers and family. So yeah, I mean, it's, and there are, and honestly, there are people who flip the script while they're incarcerated. They choose to walk the better path because holy crap, I don't want to be here. While others are like, nah, F it, I'm not going to change. Many people don't change, but many people do change. They come out, believing in a higher power. They come out saved. They come out, wanting, they come out like good servants, good stewards, good whatever. I mean, it, but are we talking? I mean, are we talking? Should it be divided via the crime? Well, my question back at you there, Husbeard, is how many divisions should there be then? Because you don't just have violent crimes and non-violent crimes. I mean, you've got sexual crimes. You've got, I mean, help. I mean, let's take it back to 2001. You've got terrorist crimes. I mean, you've got some really serious shit out there. So, do I believe there should be a division? Yes. But how many divisions should there be? What are your thoughts?
Did you cause harm to another person? Yes or no? Violent.
Right.
Cashing checks is not a terrorist crime. Checks that aren't yours are not a terrorist crime. Terrorist crimes are with the intent to harm.
Okay.
So sexual assault is a violent crime.
Mm-hmm.
So
I will go as far as saying car theft is a violent crime, because God, that feels so violating when someone steals your car.
but that's a possession versus a person.
Well, but this does also
But if you have things in there that are
white-collar
sentimental and
crime,
I mean, it feels violating. It does. It feels awful and violating, and it feels like you just got your life like turned upside down. Even if they find your car and they find it and like nothing happens, you don't get any justice with that, and you have things in your car and they're stolen and they get sold off, and you can't get them again. That's awful. It is absolutely violating.
Stabbed while the process, that's violent.
Right. I do agree with you, Aubrey. It is awful. Like if somebody were to break into your house, you feel violated because you're like, dude, this is my home. This is my safety. However, you're not losing a hand over it. You're not losing but a family member over it.
Right. And I understand that, but I just remember like I was when my car was stolen, it was very traumatizing for me. Not even just by the thieves, but also by the cops too, with the way they treated me as well. It was pretty awful. But right. I think that like shoplifting or theft in a shop, if no one got hurt, like do I think that that's a violent crime? No, but it's
so all theft is not equal. It just depends.
No, all theft is not equal. Stealing food from a store is not equal. But when you're going after someone stealing a car, I mean that's still like that. That almost feels personal.
Did you guys see that video? There was a viral video that came out. I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, a month ago or so, but it was an employee of a Hobby Lobby in like Seattle or something like that, and this chick she's like telling her, like as the video starts, she's like, open your bag, and the lady's like, oh no, I'm not opening it or whatever. She's like, open your bag, and she ends up like getting her bag and like dumping the content of her bag, and it's all this like little stolen shit from Hobby Lobby, and then the lady was like, "You scratched me, you ripped my jacket. I'm gonna call your court." Like she was like, "Dude, lady, you were stealing from the store."
I've heard about this.
Like, so what do you guys feel about something like that? I mean, where would you place that, Graveyard?
Not violent.
Not violent.
Because stuff is how people get shot over TVs. I don't care about stuff.
Right.
People
Yeah.
are what's important.
So
I mean, I
have a
agree with
question.
this. I do agree with that.
I have a
Mhm.
question.
Yeah.
So I would juxtapositionally push this then. Is there a justifiable violence that you would either not see as a crime, or is it still punishable to the same extent? So I like to take the in the case, like you said, somebody if like was to hurt your friends, loved ones, like they would just end them. I've always been in that notion that, like, say if I have children and someone like hurts or murders my child and I
Mhm.
know that who they are, I will absolutely go fucking psychopathic on this person and get some sort of retribution, not giving a fuck about the legality of it. Because for me, you earned that from me, and I will take that punishment. But like at some point, is that the same as somebody who's like gone out and just like murdered an entire family because they're in their own right crazy?
Right.
Versus like this person like hurt somebody I love, so therefore I like chop their legs off. Like,
I mean,
That's
I
a
do
tough
swords
one.
and shit.
There was that
I do swords and shit. If someone's gonna
do
come
I
at me,
deserve the solitary confinement for that, or would people be like, "Oh no, he's a hero. That's a good dad."
right.
We'll just
Yeah.
call you.
Well, there was
we'll
that
call you
case.
Kyle. We'll call you Kyle.
Do you remember that case? There was the father whose child had been had been abused, let's say, by one of their good family friends, and the guy ends up going to jail as he's getting transferred from like prison or something like that. He's getting on a plane, and the dad is actually like waiting at like a payphone and like turns around and ends up shooting the guy. And it was one of the first instances where this actually happened. And in this case, there was no persecution against the father. Everybody was like, dude, we totally, I would do the same thing if somebody, assaulted my child and got away about it, was laughing in court about it. But as time has gone on, other people who have done the same thing haven't gotten the same, haven't been let off.
I do feel like there's a gray moral compass of
There's a gray
what's
moral.
justifiable violence versus what's not.
I mean,
And then are all violent crimes the same, and is all theft
No.
the same? Because obviously it's not. But like even with like high class white collar crimes, like sometimes these big
Bernie
corporate
Madoff.
execs that or people who literally will ruin other people's lives left and right, they get off with just like a fine. And it's because you have enough money because you stole a bunch of money. You don't actually pay a price for it outside of a financial one. They're not robbed of their liberty or their freedom. They're not punished to the same extent. They're certainly not on an equal level.
We live in a country with very different judicial systems depending on how much money you make. And even like, some of those criminals, like they go to jail, but it's like a resort jail.
Yeah.
Like it's not like a jail that you and I would go to.
Club Med jail. We serve breakfast at 7.
And Matt has a really great point. It's like we have let that the fact that we let lawyers let people off doing wrong things just for some dumb loophole, knowing that the person did wrong. Yeah, there's also that where they have the corporate did a crime, and then they made it so like it's like a frivolous lawsuit, and they have these big time lawyers that will just outspend you in that defense, and then they get off. I mean, it's the same thing. When we talk about, I'm sure I don't know if we talked about this, but with the McDonald's lady, the lady that had that 3rd-degree burns from coffee being spilled on her. It wasn't a frivolous lawsuit. All she wanted was her medical payments to be paid for, because she was in the parking lot. The lid was not on completely. They had not put it on completely. It was like, it wasn't between, it just was the way that they made it seem like was that she was being completely frivolous, but she was not.
She was actually very badly injured.
Yes, she had like 30% of her body had like 3rd-degree burns on it. It was really bad.
James is on some Hobby Lobby dick right now.
I don't know what's going on with that, but I mean, I think it depends on like the level of intent of the crime, and I don't know, like what you were saying, Anthony, with the whole thing of like the father that went and shot the person. I don't know if they had already received judgment for that or not. I think, when the system won't parse out justice, or there's that whole thing of he said, she said bullshit of like that, kind of thing, or you've got like these laws that make it so rape is a crime that's like has a statute of limitation, or child molestation statute of limitation. I think that's ultimately doing the justice system it's a disservice to the people. Do I think that they deserve to be in incarcerated for long periods of time, or that they should be put in with serial killers? Probably not. But
Well, if you go to
they
Missouri,
are
rapists
not.
have parental rights.
Right, exactly. And that's not even funny. It's not even funny at
It's
all.
just the
But
way it is.
no, I know. I mean, and do we try to rehabilitate those people? Some that are, where it's a morally gray area. Obviously not with child predators. I think those people should go to prison because it's not cool. Uh, but if somebody attacks me, they will be dead. And I will feel no pity for that. And yeah, it was self-defense.
Right.
So
Right. Any last thoughts on these guys?
Well, what about you, Van? Do you think there should be a separation? I know we're talking the morally gray, and I think it's the intent to harm versus because self-defense isn't intent to harm.
Right.
You're not going out there. I mean,
I don't know.
yeah,
No.
looking for someone to attack you, so you can have the intent to self-defend yourself.
Right.
You know,
I'm not going around. I don't go around looking for fights. But if a fight comes to me, I'm not gonna try to back away from it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that there are different levels, but I think rehabilitation should come at those levels, right? Like, not everybody that has a mental illness deals with the same mental illness, so you wouldn't have the same type of treatment for every single person that is dealing with some kind of mental illness, right? If your crime has to do with petty theft over and over, maybe you need to be taught some job skills so that you can get a good enough paying job that you don't have to commit petty theft. If your I don't know, if your deal is violence, maybe you should have some therapy and counseling to help you look at where that came
Yeah.
from and hopefully help you work through that. But I don't think that's what's actually happening in the prison systems right now.
No.
We're just locking people up just for the sake of locking them up.
Yep.
Well, and used for cheap labor.
And cheap labor. Slavery never died in America. Don't be fooled.
No.
Slavery is alive and well. It has just changed names over the years.
Yeah, and I will say this: if you are a child predator and you're put into prison, you probably will die if you're put in with the regular because even serious,
prison
even
justice
most serious.
is pretty good about that one at least.
Yeah.
I will say they find out, oh, you were a child rapist. Well, I guess I'm gonna like fuck you up until you're gone.
Yep, that generally happens.
Not gonna make
even
it
most.
out of the shower. We're just gonna pummel you into the tile.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we should have Dante's prison with 7 levels of systems in place.
That's kind of cool.
That would
That's
actually be a
idea,
really
actually.
cool Netflix series. I'm not gonna lie. That we need to write this.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I mean, instead of putting somebody in a prison cell who maybe got too many DUIs, putting them in the same goddamn prison cell with a murderer. You know what I mean? Like, I think there maybe should be levels. You know what I mean? Not that a DUI that's horrible. Of course, you could potentially kill somebody, but if you haven't actually killed somebody, why would I put you in a cell with somebody who has actually killed somebody? And now I'm putting you in the position that if you don't click up and get into a gang, you are most likely going to be violated. And the correctional officers know that this shit is happening.
Oh yeah, they know.
It's not like it's a secret or anything, but why would you allow it if you're actually trying to help people and rehabilitate them?
Unless they're not.
Unless
I don't know. The sadistic part of me really wants something like The Running Man to be a reality.
A game show.
That was a fun. movie.
Wow.
I want to see a reboot of that fucking movie. Can we have
Anthony,
It's happening.
Anthony, would
Anthony,
you go to,
you are in a mood tonight. It's
am.
so
Anthony,
funny.
would you
arm
go
hurts.
to a
I'm
public
so
execution?
sorry.
What's that?
Would you go to a public execution?
Ooh, I don't think so. I don't. Even for like the worst of offenders, I don't find joy in watching somebody else's life being snuffed out. I think that's very crazily stupid of human history. It's very scary.
I
mean,
don't. Yeah.
But so Dorian, what if it was that person that harmed your loved one?
see, again, I don't think I'd find any satisfaction to it unless I'm the one pulling the lever. So even then, watching someone die for it, even then, it's not like it's a one where they're gonna, suffer per se, because we can't have cruel executions.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I wouldn't find any satisfaction out of just watching someone die.
I don't actually believe in the death penalty. I think it is a easy way out personally, but that's just me.
Having worked with death for over 5 years, let me just go ahead and go on record and say, seeing death like right in front of you, that's shit you can't unfucking see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody out there who's like, oh, well, I would watch them die and I would take joy in it. That shit scars you. I don't give a damn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a damn who you are.
Right. And if it doesn't, you got some serious fucked up problems.
If you have, look, if you've got trauma issues or whatever against somebody from your past and they did a lot of damage to you, then they did a lot of damage to you, and that's understandable. Mm-hmm. But when you there is that when you see the shell of a person and there's no life in them, even if those people hurt you, that shit does things to you, whether you're the cause of that or not. Like there's no joy in death. There's no it brings emptiness, because that's what you're staring at. You're staring at emptiness. And if you stare at it long enough and if you deal with it long enough, you end up fucking scarred, and it hurts and it sucks. So I would never want to be the person who, is the cause of death of whatever they did to my family or loved ones. Like, go ahead and let the justice system take their. Go ahead and let the justice system do their part. Do you have any idea how screwed up our officers and military get when they come to realize that, like, holy shit, I just took a life today.
Right.
Like, that person's not going to wake up tomorrow. Like, I don't think there's enough counseling in this country to help people get over shit like that.
I have a war.
Veterans is despicable.
I had a war friend, a war buddy, who came back from the Iraq War, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna go for health." Sure, he thought he was a terrible person because he killed people in the war, and like I know a few people like that actually, who are veterans, and they are like, no, killing. I mean, then it's like you have to tell. It's like I had to tell him, like, you were doing what you thought was best because you were in a situation. He goes, no, I just took them out by sniper. I was. He goes, no, actually, no, it wasn't like a justifiable killing. It was not like you were in combat. I would have preferred that, but no, I just took them out with a sniper rifle. And that's kind of hard. It's rough for them. It's rough for him. And it sucked. And it's like, no, I don't.
We talked about PTSD on Hearts of Kyber a while ago, and kind of its effects, and how, like people that are going through PTSD, it's not that they are reliving a moment, they are in that moment again. They are experiencing it as if they are experiencing it for the first time again. And so, like I was saying, I think the way our country, there's a lot of things I could say about the military, and people will probably get pissed off at me for saying it, but like, first off, I hate that whole, do you know what I did for this country? Dude, you went and got a paycheck for this country. The same way everybody else does their job, right? So I don't want to hear anything about you being the fucking savior when we haven't had a war a justifiable
On our
war.
soil,
You're-
especially.
exactly. You're not defending anything, homie. But secondly, the way that we supposedly revere veterans, but at the same time, our government just chews them out, knowing exactly what they're doing to them.
Yep.
They know exactly the kind of mental issues that these men and women are going to have, and they're like, "Fuck it, throw them out anyways." I think like the suicide rate amongst it's like one every 19 minute or something like that
Yes.
with veterans. I know it's some stupid crazy
Awful.
number. But why are all these people in this one particular group committing suicide? What is it that they are experiencing that all of these people think that death is preferable to
Trauma.
what they experienced?
Trauma. 4 tours in Iraq will do that for you.
Also, having some military friends, they have disclosed to me that there are chemicals in their body that no certified doctor, civilian doctor, can even identify. They have no clue what these people have in their systems. None.
I heard about that
Zero.
particularly after Iraq.
And Agent Orange exposure too is a real thing that that they actually put, that these soldiers in, especially during Vietnam War. That's why we have all these veterans who have, crazy, cancer, cancer phenomenons that will happen because they had Agent Orange exposure.
Right.
Just sitting there in the tanks. Great. Fantastic, our military. Wonderful. Anyways, I'm going to show you a picture of a cute little cat because that's what I'm going to do because it's adorable and we need a palate cleanser.
We need more kitties in the world.
Look at
well,
this
I was about to say we are coming up at the end of the show. I think it's about time to do our little shout outs. Tonight's definitely been an interesting one, but God, I almost feel like the more interesting the topic is, the more we didn't resolve shit. I feel like there's no solution and no answer to either of our conundrums tonight. But it wasn't a good conversation.
It was a great conversation. If you want a resolution, we need to put in more make our society happier by giving more.
We need to encourage people to care about each other more.
Yes.
Be more like Japan.
To do that, be more like Japan.
Right.
And also put money back into the system. So that people are happier.
Everything. Girl talkers. Death to capitalism. All right, Graveyard. What you got for me, my man?
Doing pluggables?
We're doing pluggables.
Sweet. I am Graveyard, co-host of the Mostly Pod Out Night, Mostly podcast. Still working out some snafus with Comic-Con Radio on getting our stuff up. That was supposed to be done yesterday. But once that happens, we will be exclusively on Comic-Con Radio with all new stuff, with our new show we're working on, with interviewing people in the horror community, stuff like that. Follow us on Instagram, social media, any place at Pod Out at Night. Make sure to check out our podcast. So we have all episodes up on anywhere you get your podcast. It'll be releasing on Wednesdays. Once again, I'll put more information on the social media. On top of that, you can find me at Kyber Cave Productions here 4 days a week, and on Thursdays at Distance Nerding. I'd like to encourage everyone who is here, all our caver dwellers and splunkers, to join our Discord server. Talk nerdy to us. We want to talk nerdy to you. Get some polls in there. Give me some viewer levels for Super Mario Maker 2. I want to play these horrible games. Get my gray in my beard as well. Join our Patreon just for as little $1 a month. You can help support our channel. And for higher tiers, you have chances to win more lightsabers, and we have great lightsabers that you can get also at kybercave.com, like this lovely Graveyard here. I know.
Yes.
So yeah, check out everything out, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And the more subscribers we have, the more sabers we give away, and helps grow our channel community. And comment below. Let us know what you think of these shows and what you want us to discuss as well. Helps us out.
Yes. I love it. Thank you.
Oh God.
Sadorian!
I shouldn't do that. That's okay. This is probably going to be my last Friday until rent closes, I think.
Oh,
I know. I almost slept through today, and then I
I'm
woke
so
up and I was like,
sad.
shit, I don't think I have another one because next week we're doing run-throughs, and then we open on the 15th. So
wow.
it's going to be
So
crazy.
close.
Come see
excited.
Ren at Stockton Civic Theater.
Yes, and then you also before that you have Pride.
I do.
Yes, which I've got to. Yeah, I'll have to talk about that.
Yes. But yeah, Saturday, June 10th, I'm hosting the third annual Lodi Pride. My darling husband has been coordinating it all year. It is a
Touches
Wizard
on
of
my
Oz theme, which we are calling Over the Rainbow.
I love
Nice.
it.
So it's gonna be really cute. I have my Dorothy costume. I'm getting a friend of mine to make my Glinda. I don't know if I have it in me to transform into the Wicked Witch as well, but we'll see. And then outside of that, yeah, I will be back for sure after July 9th.
Wow. Well,
Me
make
and
sure that
Najmina.
if you are out in that area, get out to see Anthony at Pride and or at Rent.
Yes. And then other than that, if it works out, I'll try to hop in more on like weekday stuff once things change schedule wise.
Q view.
Q view. Two
I
queens.
honestly we don't have any reaction channels. That would be a fun reaction channel or
That'd be fun.
reaction show.
Let's
Q view.
do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Just you
So
watching
we
internet
so
clips.
we are not putting out any new shows apparently up until we get the new order out. So hey,
We'll get it out.
we are. Vince and I are working on it. We're gonna get it done. So anyways, hi, I am the captain. The captain of my captain. Yeah, so you can find me here on this channel where I just talk a lot of shit. I just raptor it up. You can also find me with that lovely man over there, Mr. Forrest, the better half of the quiet, and where we go and play games and together, and we just talk, and we do voice acting and do a lot of fun stuff. I also do show up on this guy's show every once in a while, possibly never, since he doesn't ever want to do Lord of the Rings with me ever again. And yeah, and I also
you're on everybody's shit here.
I do a lot of things. I'm also on Hearts of Kyber. I do 2 Queens and a Fours with these 2 lovely gentlemen right here. They're amazing. And yeah, I might be over at Pride on July 10th with Anthony.
Woo!
Doing some stuff. So that's what I'm doing. I also have projects that I'm working on outside of Kyber Cave, music projects and acting projects. I have plans to put out a new show called The New Order. It'll be a role-playing game show. It'll be featuring some of these lovely people here. And yeah, I'll be doing a lot more music projects for the channel too in the future. So just check me out. I'm on Spotify. You can check me out under Aubrey McCoy, or you can look up BYL, which was a music project I was working on with Leo Saramago. And that is pretty much it. Also, go to kybercave.com and look up the Saber, the captain.
And yes, Say Wong. One of our new shows is just going to be me and Say Wong talking shit at each other for a half hour.
Fun.
I am ready. Fun. Anytime you are ready, Say Wong, I am ready to do a haiku battle with you.
Oh, dude, could we do a show where we do like poetry slam battles? That would be fun.
No, we can't. I mean, that's how I got my start, was doing poetry slams.
Okay, anyway, all right. I'm getting you off the stage. Have somebody, Mr. Forrest. Get Mr. Forrest up here.
Mr. Forrest.
I am the one and only Forrest FX Saber Sound Designs. I would like to encourage all of you to head over to kybercave.com, get yourself a lightsaber, and when you do, head over to saberfont.com. You can find the work that I do, which is sound fonts, or some of the work that my friends do, Juan Sith and Harry Solo fonts, respectively. Over on our sister channel, Distance Nerding, you can find myself and the Husbeard Graveyard there on Thursdays doing the bracket, where we rate all kinds of nerdy comic stuff. And over here at Kyber K Productions, you can find me and a plethora of people, including the Husbeard and the Kyber Wifey and this amazing drag queen right here, doing all sorts of just fun gaming things. Like, for example,
Love
we
it.
do gaming on Thursday nights. We have Retro Alcove on Mondays. We have After Dark on Fridays. There's the Nerd Out on Saturdays. Good Lord, people, we do every damn thing. So be sure to
7
join
days
us
a week.
every day of the week. May the fours always be with you. Love you a whole bunch. Have a fan-freaking-tastic night. Van.
Woohoo!
And the
All right, y'all. You've heard them talk about kybercave.com. But if you want to check us out live, tomorrow we are going to be at Powerhouse Comics with the Distance Nerding crew. We will be there from 10 to 5. The weekend after that, we will be in Benicia on Saturday for their Star Wars event. And we will be in Sacramento on Sunday at the Toy Fusion event. The weekend after that, we are at Vacaville Pride in Vacaville on June 3rd. So those are the events that I know of that are coming up right now. Man, it's been like literally back to back every single weekend. We've got stuff. So we are desperately trying to grow Kyber Cave and get out to more of these events so that I can get us into a different shop location. I think I made the decision. I want to get the hell out of Vacaville. We're going to get rid of these machines. I'd love to get us back into another shop and or a dojo situation. People have been asking me about battles for so long. The other thing I wanted to put in your ear, August 4th, put that on your calendar. Sunshine Creations and Kyber Cave present the 10th annual Battle in the Park. And this will be the first year of the free outdoor convention. So we will have at least 4 or 5 Star Wars actors there, and it's going to be completely free, unlike most conventions you go to. So we are trying to make this a thing and piss off all the other convention owners in Sacramento. Yeah. Saywong says I will be at neither of those. Saywong is always going to like a million different shows. We'll have to catch up with Saywong and find out where he's at. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out with us on a Friday night. Anthony, thank you for not going to sleep and deciding to hang out with us instead. We will be excited to come out to rent when that is. So keep us informed so we can get our tickets. I would like to go as a group if we can, Aubrey.
I want to go. Yeah, that'd be great. I'm good to go with that. To go and do that because I definitely want to support my Levitts. Because he's
I very greatly appreciate it.
All right, y'all. We love you very much and see you next Friday. Make sure to tune in at 10 a.m. for the Saturday morning Nerd Out. I am Arctic Scala with Kyber Cave, and we are out. Peace.
Ha ha ha.